Honorable Arnaldo Brown, Chair of the Caribbean Development and Cooperation Committee, Diane Corliss, Director of ECLAC Sub-Regional Headquarters for the Caribbean, Honorable Ministers of Foreign Affairs, distinguished representatives of government, members of the Diplomatic Corps, representatives of United Nations organizations, of regional non-governmental organizations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to join you this morning, albeit virtually, to add my welcome to that of ECLAC at the start of this very important meeting. Following the UN Millennium Summit in 2000 and the global agreement on the Millennium Development Goals, the Caribbean region was faced with its own questions about its development achievements to date and what remained outstanding. The region acknowledged that on some of the MDGs, such as reducing child mortality and achieving universal primary education, we had perhaps met and exceeded what was reflected in the global targets. As such, what was required was a development framework which strongly reflected the regional realities. The Caribbean Development Bank was pleased to collaborate with our borrowing member countries, ECLAC, and our development partners, many of whom are represented at this symposium today, to support the articulation of a set of Caribbean-specific MDGs. These CMDGs, as they came to be known, exceeded the global goals and targets. For example, in the case of education, targeting not just primary enrollment, but primary and secondary achievement. The CMDGs also sought to expand the scope of the gender equality targets to place more emphasis on women's and men's access to economic opportunities, and also give visibility to some of the particular health concerns in the region that were not being addressed in the global frameworks, such as chronic, non-communicable diseases. The Caribbean Pacific, as well as the localized MDG frameworks which some countries undertook, provided a useful roadmap for the region's development and facilitated much-needed policy dialogue and agenda setting following the 2000 UN Millennium Summit. For CDB, the CMDGs have always served as the anchor of the bank's strategic plan, making up level 1 of our results monitoring framework. In other words, the bank measures its development effectiveness by the success of our BMCs in achieving these goals. CDB's efforts to support our BMCs in tracking this progress has demonstrated some clear gaps in monitoring and reporting capacity, to which we have been aiming to respond. Our new Enhanced Country Poverty Assessment Program builds on several years of support to countries in collecting, analyzing, and disseminating social and gender indicators. By focusing over the next period on the integration of multi-dimension poverty measurement, the program also allows us to look beyond income to understand people's true deprivations and therefore the ways in which we can target our support. Additionally, the bank's support to country gender assessment also helps to promote the use of gender disaggregated data for policy making. Based on what we do know of the region's MDG achievements, progress has been made under several goals. Among them, Goal 2, achieving universal primary education. Goal 3, promoting gender equality and empowering women. Goal 4, reducing child mortality. And Goal 6, combating HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other diseases. And to a lesser extent, Goal 7, ensuring environmental sustainability. While the sub-region has attained gender parity at the primary education level, other structural issues emerge, such as education quality, attainment and relevance, and the capacity of youth and women to convert educational achievement into productive job opportunities. Moreover, on Goal 5, improve maternal health, early trends in reduced maternal mortality are being reversed. Lessons on what contributed to the achievements point to regional and global partnerships for development. For example, efforts to increase access to antiretroviral drugs for HIV/AIDS and specific budgeted evidence-based action at the national level in response to emergent issues such as child hunger. As we assess progress over the last 15 years and look toward a new generation of internationally agreed development goals, there are some opportunities we must acknowledge and explore. This is a new area in financing for development for small island development states, and our discussion on the means of implementation must seek to achieve a balance between generating our own homegrown solutions and drawing on global work on this agenda. One of the opportunities, for example, is greater use of public-private partnerships. However, in order to exploit this potential, most regional governments would need to develop PPP policies which set the rules and define country priorities, build institutional and human capacity, and create adequate fiscal and accounting frameworks which allow them to identify fiscal costs and risks. In this regard, CDB, in collaboration with the World Bank and IDB, has established a PPP regional support mechanism located within the CDB that seeks to build PPP-related capacity in regional public and private sector actors, as well as to support institutional and regulatory development. Measures that optimize the efficiency and effectiveness of invested resources are also key in the financing for development debate. And CDB is engaged in several programs of support that seek to help identify such measures at the project implementation and institutional capacity levels. Time and effort is required to articulate the needs and position of the Caribbean SIDS. We now have the Samoa pathway that reflects much of that effort. And part of our task in these next days and weeks is to determine how these modalities on the Caribbean SDGs can be rationalized for the sustainable development of our region. We have already started the process, and in fact, considerable progress has been made. We have among our resources the Caribbean Joint Statement on Gender Equality, the Post-2015 and SIDS Agenda, and the CARICOM Statement on a Post-2015 Development Agenda, and not least of all, the ideas and innovative perspective of those of you gathered here today. During our recently concluded annual meeting at the Board of Governors Roundtable, the governors took the opportunity to discuss the possible areas of priority for the new SDGs to ensure CDB provided strategic support to its BMCs. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say therefore in closing, our region's development agenda is a challenging one, but we must take advantage of the prevailing opportunities. CDB, under the leadership of President Warren Smith and staff, remain committed to partnership with countries in the region, with ECLAC and all our other development partners to continue this work collectively so that we can all better respond to the region's development challenges and needs. I thank you.